Shredmaster Scat. We've all seen him around. Mwahaha. Not afraid to make a Megadeth versus Metallica video, which we all have been wanting to see. But he has a course that you can get on his Patreon. I think it's $10 a month level or above. Above's this way, not that way. And I thought I would review it because this is one of the courses I bought when I was learning. And I wore a Metallica shirt for Shred here. So, well, first of all, who is Shred? He drinks WAP juice. And I have to tell you, I don't think WAP juice has protein in it like Shred says. But men can produce their own thing that has creatine in it. It's the same, it's kind of the same as WAP juice. Shred, I think you should stop drinking WAP juice, number one. But Shred's a popular guitar YouTuber in the metal sphere and teaches, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, I'm a big fan of his channel. It's funny. He plays the YouTube game, which is what you got to do. I know people don't like it, but his numbers speak for themselves. But is the course worth getting? What do you get? PDFs and MP3s, baby. That's what you get. Recently, we learned the Beato Club's coming out. Very excited about the Beato Club, especially if you get the card. But what do you get with this? Well, Beato Club has 75 PDFs. We learned that. I called all the major universities, Harvard, Stanford, Tulsa School of Welding. None of them had or could give me an account of course PDF. So I don't know if 75 is good or not, but Shred has way over 75. Just like the Beato book, these PDFs have no core, there's no teaching. It's just the same information done. So an example, or some examples, are the augmented 666 chord PDF. Most of these have a guitar profile with them, and some of them have backing tracks and MP3s. I thought some of the MP3s were going to be spoken word, here's what this is, here's how to use this, but I didn't see anything like that. This is a huge zip. I went through most of it, but I might have missed something, so I'm okay being wrong. Let me know. But the augmented 666 chord is a tab showing an F7 chord with an augmented 6 on it. It doesn't tell you what makes it augmented. What do you have to do to any given scale tone to move? How do you make a chord? You have to know, there's nothing like what's the prerequisites, okay? It has Bach's most diabolical chords included. Looks to be a diminished 7th chord. Again, it's tab that has a chord or two in it. I think he's trying to have you play and compare with your ear, but even that's not listed. It doesn't say, hey, here's how to get around this stuff. The tab has some stuff in titles like, this is a modulation. This is a diminished modulation. But it's just not clear what he's trying to teach. In the Bach's most diabolical chord, for example, it looks to be having tab that outlines a C sharp diminished 7th chord over a pedal tone of the high E. Oh, gotta get up here. And Shred talks about pedal tones on his videos all the time, so it makes sense to be comparing stuff against the pedal tone. That's a good way to hear the difference. But he doesn't talk about that here. Nothing about that. I don't know what he's trying to teach. The best music theory tutorial ever starts with every guitarist at this day and age's most asked for thing. How do I read notes on the staff? Like this, from Berkeley. I don't know anybody want to know that. I do because there's some old jazz books that aren't tabbed, so I'm going to sight read a little bit. I remember some from bands, so I don't need to do much. From there, we go on to intervals, and it's staff music and tab played as a chord. You want to do an interval of single notes too, to hear the differences. This particular one doesn't compare to other songs, but future ones do, and that's a theme on this is repeated material. Okay, you're going to get several music theory PDFs that have the intervals, notes on the staff. It has you memorize the key signatures, so sharps and flat counting on the, next to the staff. Then we tab out the major scale and we say WWH, WWWH. That's the major scale formula. It doesn't say that's the formula. It doesn't tell you the W is whole and the H is half step. It doesn't tell you that if you memorize that and utilize that to compare against other scales, you can actually start to do these scales on your own. You can make a major scale into a minor scale. And then you can get into like what makes something mixolydian. You can get into that stuff. And this is arguably the most important part of learning the major scale. It has your chord tones in it. It has your intervals that you would need. But we're not connecting these together in this course at all. It's just, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this. Maybe he wants us to Google. Maybe he wants us to figure this out on our own. I don't know. And finally, we encounter counterpoint, which is something Shred talks about a lot. But that ends up being, again, tab showing the different movements of counterpoint. It's pretty self-explanatory. Still, it would be nice to have the effort of saying, here's what counterpoint is, here's the definition. The notes moving against each other is one way, then this way is another way, but there's none of that. You can watch his videos, but if you're going to do that, you don't need the tab. There's an intro to music theory. This is a larger version of the best theory one, but this one introduces the concept of like the Jaws themes, a minor second interval, a perfect fifth, the Star Wars stuff. So now we're getting into what, how could you reference these? Because that's what you want to do with intervals if you don't have perfect pitch. Billy, knock it off. If you don't have perfect pitch, you use relative pitch. So you want to memorize songs that have these intervals. You could go, like on Ben Eller's another YouTuber I like. His Patreon, he just did a video where he breaks down how he tabs a song out. He's doing a Mastodon song. He shows examples of using these intervals to quickly figure out these songs. And this is what we want to learn from Beato, right? Most people want to learn from Rick Beato. In the comments, you'll see, how do you break these songs down? How do you do this? Well, you got to get this stuff in your ear. Interesting PDF on negative harmony. This is something I don't know what it is. Sounds bad. Sounds bad. What is it? Well, we don't know. It's a tab with a backing track. So somehow I can figure that out. Like you, I probably don't have the time. I want to be, here's what negative harmony. Of course I could Google it. But this is a course. I don't expect a course to have me Googling. There is pandiatonicism. It's literally looks like a piano piece, so it has treble and bass clef, no tab, it's just the notes, no text at all. The music theory course part, one of the many, he shows you like here's a half note, a whole note. So it's like a whole note equals 4 beats. The tab doesn't have a time signature, and nowhere have I seen it explain, the bottom number is what, beat gets the count. So in 4/4 he's right, but he's not right in 6/8. Now there is some good things. There's about 26, maybe more classical pieces tabbed out. That is useful. Again, it's free. You can go look this up, but that's useful. One interesting one is music theory of the Zelda theme. I'm a big Zelda fan. I thought, great. Well, it's the theme and some other songs in Zelda games tabbed out. Doesn't explain any theory. I'll mention Ben Eller again. He was doing a breakdown of Journey's song Lights with the solo of it. After he goes over the solo, he talks about the music theory and about how Neil Schoen's outlining chords and how he's building this stuff. Like, that's what I want to see. That's the music theory of that. It's not, Ben Eller didn't just give the tab the lights and say, here's the music theory of it. No, that's how to play it. Here's what's going on happens in his video. Scale Bible, this is 102 scales tabbed. You don't need to do that. You need to learn the notes, building triads, building stuff off the major scale, and how the modes start to work, and how you can build other scales off that. That we don't have to memorize. You don't have to memorize. His chord Bible is 26 pages of chord diagrams. You just memorize them. Almost nobody's going to tell you the key to learning your chords is to memorize them. They're going to say no. Something like, how do you add a 7? How do you make a 7th chord? Add the 7th note of the scale degree, right? We don't talk about that here. No. He doesn't talk about how do you make a chord, what is augmented, what is diminished, what is suspended, Doesn't say here's what that is. Shred's videos are good, but this is the classic internet newsletter monetization technique that's been around, since Tim Ferriss was writing books. I mean, this is cultivate an audience, sell them information products. The information product's cheap enough, you can just info dump them, waterboard them with PDFs, lay them down, and take these PDFs and get them with it. Beato's just got 75. He doesn't have hundreds of them. In PDF count, Beato's losing here. Now I think of guys like Rye Naylor or Ben Eller himself. These are people that do the same thing. They put out content, really good, and through Patreon and buying courses, you can support them. If you look at Rye Naylor's stuff, this stuff is top notch. I bought his Circle of Fifths course. No joke, that thing printed out and collated is like this. Full color graphics. He uses the neck diagram software to make really nice looking images. Worth every penny of whatever. I don't even know what it cost. I don't care. It was that good. He has tons of other courses. My problem is Shred is promising us to get to level 69 of music using Sigma Male grind set, NFTs, vaginal juice water, which I'm still saying I don't think you should be drinking, and solar guitars, to just be at the top of our game. He promises us this. He's better at me than you two, and probably better at guitar, right? But he promises this, and it just doesn't deliver. And I like his content, so I think he needs to work on it. I think he needs to look at how Rye Naylor's doing it, come out with a better product, and charge more. I will pay a lot of money to get better. That's why he's probably selling a ton of these. You can just go on Patreon and give him $10 for 1 month, I think, and you get it. So it's not like this is some of this, just the etudes maybe, or just, I don't know, just supporting him. I want to support him. So it's so low priced, it doesn't matter. But if you print all this stuff out, you have something arguably worse than the old Beato book, or better, depending on what you think. Who knows? But it's kind of the same idea. Here's a bunch of notes. Hopefully you can get something out of it. Continue to support me. And I just think Shred can do better. He has that Sigma Mill grind set. He's jacked. So I do think it's worth it. Because it's only $10. So you just sign up for his Patreon if you like him. I'm subscribed to Ben Eller. And Eric Haugen's one of my favorite guys. He does a lot of cage stuff. His stuff's primarily just videos. He's not selling a course. His courses are on TrueFire. All these other things, TrueFire, Rye Naylor, Kiko's Guitar Academy, that 7-factor course that I talk about all the time, smokes this. Of course, it's more expensive. It's a full thing, right? So at $10, I don't feel super bad. Again, it's just like the Beato book. If you support Scott, you're probably going to, sign up for his Patreon anyway. Give him $10 a month. Take this zip. You got it. I don't know. Look through it. You might like it. I mean, I'll pay $10 for the Zelda stuff alone, man. But that's it for Holland Oats.